But middle-class teenagers are choosing apprenticeships over degrees because they want better value for money. This according to a top graduate employer. Chairman of an accounts and consultancy company, Kevin Ellis, has said a rising number of school leavers were opting for apprenticeships over traditional university education, fearing the high level of student debt. So it begs the question, is university a waste of time? To debate this, I'm delighted to welcome ethnographer and academic, a good friend of the show, Dr. Lisa Mckenzie. And also I'm delighted to welcome author and columnist, TV and radio presenter, quite a talented lady, I'm not going to lie, Emma Woolf. So we've got Lisa and Emma. We're just going to get the line to them now. It's an important debate because Tony Blair was very keen to see over 50% of school leavers attend university whilst he was Prime Minister. Was that a laudable policy, or did it set up a lot of people for a fall? Lisa Mckenzie, we've got the line to you. Happy New Year. What's your view on this? Of course, you're a top academic yourself.
Well, I am an academic, and Happy New Year, Mark, and Happy New Year to everybody on GBNews. It's great to see you on the 2nd of January. So I've had a look at this sort of statement that was reported today, and where it's come from a report that was done in December by the Sutton Trust, and it is absolutely sort of suggesting that some young people are looking for apprenticeships. However, it is a bit misleading with the headline which says the middle class are looking for apprenticeships, because it's almost suggesting like the middle class are looking for apprenticeships as plumbers or electricians, when actually the apprenticeships that is on offer is actually something called higher degree apprenticeships, and that's things like in media organisations, in accountants and in legal firms. So there are these sort of higher degree type apprenticeships, and middle class students are absolutely looking towards those. However, what the Sutton Trust does say is that in these sort of very lucrative higher degree apprenticeships, which does get you into a higher paid job without all that debt, working class students are not getting through. So the same old argument is happening again and again. So is university a waste of money? Probably not for, I suppose, upper middle class people, because they're used to spending sort of £9,000 or 15 grand a term at a private school, and then they go to a university. And as I've said many times, what you get at university is much more than the education. It's the social networks, it's the cultural capital. So for some groups of people, university is still absolutely worth that money. However, leaving university with a 50 grand debt for a working class student that may not get all those networks and may only just get a marginally better job out of it. I think personally, working in a university for 20 years, the higher education system is completely broken.
Emma Woolf, I believe that all young people should have access to higher education, but it doesn't have to be in a red brick building called a university.
Absolutely. And I completely agree with Lisa that basically these apprenticeships, it's not being the sort of the boy doing the chair legs in the carpenter studio and then working his way up to master carpenter. It's not doing the plumbing or working in a factory. It's basically, these are what we used to call internships. These are paid training at a company with the offer of then a very lucrative or a pretty lucrative first job. So, but I agree with you, Mark, as well, that I think higher education, in whatever form it takes, whether that's, a sort of traditional academic degree like I did, or whether it's more vocational, depends whether you have a specific career in mind, depends whether you want to be a medic, you want to work in the law, something like that, or you just want to faff around like I did and study English literature for 3 years and, learn how to speak Old English and all sorts of things and end up in goodness knows what kind of profession. But I think higher education in some form, i.e. after school, that you leave home, that you get away from mummy's apron strings, you learn how to pay your rent, how to work a washing machine, how to cook a basic meal, how to get drunk, how to fall in love, how to have your heart broken, how to deal with life outside of school, the safe environment of school, that you have a space where you do that, hopefully with some kind of study in mind, and you do that for a couple of years before you knuckle down into the world of work. Because goodness knows, we're all going to be working until we're about 95 these days, probably with COVID and obesity and who knows what else in this miserable world. So, yeah, I think some form of higher education, whether that's mostly spent in the pub or, you know, wherever, is really, really important. But I'm not sure about these so-called apprenticeships.
You're right about having your heart broken at university. I'll never get over Rebecca, Stephanie and Big Jim.
I can join you. Jonathan.
Big Jim was a unit, let me tell you. Lisa, how much of this is about class? And were Tony Blair's attempts to get young people into university an attempt to tackle class division?
Yeah, I mean, the whole of the New Labour agenda was about social mobility. That was what the whole New Labour agenda was about. It was about, Prescott said, we're all middle class now. But and the attempt to sort of get 50% of young people into university was a social mobility attempt. However, that has not worked. It's actually failed because what has happened is with the enormous amount, the minute that the working class in any numbers started to go to university, the fees started to go up. So what we've got now is we've got students leaving university with £50,000 worth of debt, which they have to pay back when they're only earning £21,000, which is not a graduate. That's not a graduate wage, £21,000. But you do have to start paying that back at £21,000. And so what we've got now is we've got a situation where we've got groups of people who can leave university and parents are paying off that debt for them. And then you've got other groups of people, usually working class people, who do not get that support. And at the same time as they're trying to find work, perhaps trying to buy a home, they're also having to pay off this enormous debt as well. The higher education system as it works today is actually not working for anybody. It's not working for lecturers. It's not working for students. It really needs a proper overhaul. Does that mean I'm with you? I think that an education is a precious thing. However, what starts to happen is if you start charging that 50 grand, students need to believe that they're going to get some sort of job at the end of it that's going to pay that off. So therefore, education then is not about education. It's about getting a job. And actually, you lose the education bit from the university because it then becomes you're buying a piece of paper to give to an employer rather than having that 3 years of education.
Emma Woolf, you've got a young son and he will at a certain point be a school leaver. What if he says to you, Mum, I'm not going to get myself into tens of thousands of pounds worth of debt? There are courses online. I can learn about engineering from YouTube and I can get to work quicker.
Well, he's already learned about engineering, but not from YouTube. And he's not allowed online and he's never going to have a phone ever. He's never going to have a television. He's never going to be allowed any technology ever. No,
Poor kid.
I think the world has changed a lot. Degrees, the whole academic course thing, universities were invented decades ago. And the world is such a different place. They were invented before technology existed, before remote working, before virtual, any kind of technology, before the internet. I'm not talking about the universities, like Oxford and Cambridge that were invented centuries ago, but the traditional course, the way it's only just been sort of tweaked at the edges and then modified and then changed through COVID and stuff. We've never actually, and I know you've just talked about reforming the NHS, so we can't throw universities as well into the mix. There's way too much in this country to reform. Everything needs reform. But I do think that the traditional 3-year course, residential course, is probably a busted flush. It probably isn't going to last, certainly not until Ludo is 18 or whatever. So the likelihood is that kids his age in 17 years' time will be doing it in a completely different way and probably nothing like the university that we went to. I still remember the day when I got this envelope through the door. It was a letter from the student, what were they called? Student Loans Company. And it said, you've paid your final instalment. That was it. That was my final. And I was about 30. and I'd paid off my final, I think it was 100 quid a month. And it came out of the blue. And I'd just given up on ever paying it back. I just thought that will be forever. I'll always have that 90 odd pounds a month going out, because I had no help from my parents at all. Yeah. And one day, about 12 years later, I paid it off. It ended.
You do realise, though.
Money well spent, Emma, although there are lots of books behind you. I won't speculate on how many of them you've actually read. The brilliant broadcaster Emma Woolf.
How many I've written, you mean?
She's read all of them. What an outrageous slur. Also, thanks to Dr. Lisa Mckenzie as well. I'm in so much trouble. What do you think? Is university a waste of money? Mark at gbnews.uk.